Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am the Night Walker, and now we're in the month of December. Christmas is closing in, and I know usually when it comes to talking about horror movies that take place around Christmas, usually, of course, we all know you know, the most basic ones. We know Silent Night, Deadly Night. We know Krampus. We know Gremlins. We know Black Christmas, so on and so forth. And I actually remember this one, and it's a ghost story, and actually, I think it's a masterpiece. And I don't know, I don't hear too many people talk about it. And if you haven't seen this movie already yet, if you get the chance, go see it. I think you can watch it for free. I think it's available on YouTube for free. But if not, get the Scream Factory Blu-ray if it's still available. I'm talking about The Legend of Hell House. This is a really, really good flick, and it takes place, during the week of Christmas. And I was thinking about that because I was thinking, well, I'd like to talk about a horror movie that takes place around the Christmas season. What could I talk about? And then all of a sudden, while browsing through the whole library here, I came across this one. It's like, you know what? This one does. It takes place during the week of Christmas. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get going. The story is it's pretty simple. It follows, similar to stories like The Haunting or whatever. It's about a group of paranormal investigators. They're going into this house, and they're there to investigate. They're there to determine if there are spirits in the house. If there are, that that they can deal with it and release the spirits. And of course, things do not go according to plan. Now, I got to be honest though, real quick, I just got to be honest. I'm surprised this one hasn't been rebooted yet. I'm figuring it's only going to be a matter of time. I mean, they redid The Haunting. They did that horrible remake with Liam Neeson and Catherine Zeta-Jones. That I'm sorry, I'm not trying to diss on fans of that movie. If you like that movie, that's fine. Just to me, it's terrible, terrible movie. And then they did the Netflix series Haunting of Hill House, where they did this kind of loose rendition of the Shirley Jackson novel. So anyway, but yeah, I'm surprised they haven't gotten to this one yet, but they probably will. Now that I said something, they probably will. But anyway, it's based on the book by Richard Matheson, who honestly is one of the best novelists of our time. If you don't know who he is, oh my God, you will. I mean, if you watch Twilight Zone, he wrote some of the best episodes on Twilight Zone. You know the, the William Shatner episode, "The Man is on the Wing of the Plane," things like that. He's written a bunch of those. Um, he helped get Steven Spielberg his start in movies by writing Duel. He wrote the short story that adapted his screenplay, and then Steven Spielberg got the chance to direct the movie. So, he's done great, great books and stories and everything else. It's like, oh man, he's definitely one of the best. And this story is fantastic. And I will say, though, um, I will say probably the thing about this movie, though, is just if you're the kind of person like you don't like movies that are slow burn, they take a little bit of time to get the story going, it's building up and everything else. If you're one of those kind of people, you don't like a movie that kind of takes its time, then you ain't gonna like this. But because that's the thing, this movie it's a little paced out, and but it all builds to a good, satisfying climax. I think it does anyway. So the story is about this man, Dr. Barrett, and his wife. Um, they end up uh, they end up getting asked, well, not asked, but they end up getting assigned to go and review Hell House. And the idea is they're supposed to go in there, they're supposed to investigate that this Dr. Barrett, he has this new kind of equipment at detecting paranormal activity and dealing with it and being able to pretty much cleanse a house you know, of ghost phenomenon. And he and his wife, they decide that they're going to go. At first he tells her, like, it would be better if you don't go with me. And she's all like, no, I want to be there when you prove your point, and let everybody know that you were right, and so on. And but they end up having, Clive Revell plays Dr. Barrett. I think it's Gail Honeycutt who plays Anne, his wife. And then they're accompanied by two other people. One is uh, I believe he's Psychic Fisher, who's played by Roddy McDowall, the late great Roddy McDowall, who, If you're a horror movie fan, you're definitely gonna recognize him from Fright Nights Part 1 and 2, the original, and stuff like that. And Pamela Franklin, who I admit, it's like, yeah, she's kind of there when screaming there. I kind of admit, when I first saw this movie as a kid, I admit I had a little bit of a crush on her. I admit it, but she plays Miss Tanner, and so the idea is they're going to go in, they're going to do what they need to do, they're going to study it. Tanner and Fisher are supposed to determine how many spirits are in the house, what kind of spirits, are there demons, can they deal with it, how are they going to deal with it, so on, so forth. And then Barrett is going to use his scientific, equipment and machinery and stuff to then deal with the ghosts and deal with the situation and get them out. And then when they get in there, it's, this movie is beautifully filmed, greatly photographed, uh, plenty of fog, plenty of atmosphere, really unsettling. The inside of the castle has castle, but the inside of the mansion, Hell House, as you can see there, has a very uh, gloomy, gothic atmosphere. It's very, very creepy, very unsettling, and the one thing I will say though is like kind of like that there is a little bit of a untruth there. There's not really a lot of blood in this movie, but so anyway, so they get into the house, and it doesn't take long before things start, being a little odd. And like for instance, when they first enter the house, they close the door. One of the first thing that happens is a record plays, and it's supposed to be the voice of what was his name? Emerick Velasco, who owned Hill House and he ran Hill House. And when asked like what had went on in this house, Roddy McDowall explains, basically any horrible thing that you could think of, he did it. Murder, vampirism, necrophilia, cannibalism, uh, sodomy, all this other kind of bestiality, you name it, he did it, basically kind of like sort of like an Aleister Crowley type. And so, of course, the woman said, well, how did it all end? And Fisher's like, if it had ended, we wouldn't be here. And of course, being a little bit on the smug side, Barrett is like, it's about to end, Fisher. But the thing is, then we come to find out, I'm trying not to give away too much of the movie because, I want there to be some surprises. But we find out that, because Fisher keeps saying he's not sensing anything and he's like, I'm not ready yet, this and that. It gets to the point he's, being accused of like, he's not pulling his weight. And he fully admits to it. He's all like, you know what? He's like, you have not seen how absolutely evil this house is, how terrible and how absolutely just diabolical this place is. He's like, if you had any sense at all you would do is just take the week, just relax, take it as a vacation. Hell House does not mind a guest or two, but if you're going to attack it, you're going to die. So it's like, that would be my best bit. That would be my best piece of advice to you is just sit back, do nothing. When they call, just tell them what they want to hear and then just bag the money and get out. But everybody else, he's the only one who holds that opinion. Pretty much everybody else in the movie is kind of like, no, we're dead set on doing this. Basically, Barrett is more dead set on, he just wants to do away with the spirits and get them out and just be done with it. Whereas Miss Tanner, she's more interested in trying to communicate with them and try to befriend them and help them to move on and to move on to the next plane and things like that. And, um, one thing I will say, if you watch Scary Movie 2, you're going to remember scenes from this movie in Scary Movie 2 because there's a scene where Pamela Franklin's character, she gets attacked by a black cat. Now, of course, if you watch Scary Movie 2, there is a similar scene, but it's a more funny version. But where they got that from was this movie right here. And, one thing of interesting note, if you're a fan of like Hammer movies or Amicus movies or things like that, we find out that Velasco is actually played by Michael Goff, who, Tim Burton fans will remember him. He played Alfred in, Batman and Batman Returns. He's, been in so many movies. He's been in, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. He was in Top Secret. He's been in so many movies, big veteran character actor, may he rest in peace. But we come to find out he's actually the one who plays, He's the one who actually plays Velasco in this movie. And like for one thing that's going on is that Miss Tanner, she thinks that she's communicating with a spirit. See, that's one of the things too. You gotta be careful which spirits you communicate with, because in this movie, Miss Tanner, she starts communicating with a spirit. Well, the spirit communicates to her that he's actually Daniel Belasco, the son of Emmerich Belasco. And the thing is, though, it's like she actually really has. She goes on to believe that he is Daniel Belasco, even though they don't really have any records of him. But she's going on, and because she can't really prove otherwise, and you know, let's just say things don't go good. But also, too, we find out that there's a bit of friction in the marriage with the Barretts because uh, you know if you like a little bit of eroticism in your ghost stories, this has it because uh, because we find out that Anne is wanting to she's wanting to get some basically some alone time with her husband, and he's just kind of like all he's all business. He's just all thinking about what he's got to do. He just wants to you know do his job, make his point, and everything else, become successful, this and that. That he's not really paying attention to her, so she becomes a woman, a wife with needs. And the house, and the spirits in the house use this to play on her and is able to possess her in a way. And so basically she's becoming very, like it's not her, but the spirit taking her over is going around looking for, you know, some kind of sexual debauchery, let's say. But anyway, though, it's like as a matter of fact, I think that's like one of the scenes there where she's coming on to Roddy McDowall's character. She's coming on to Fisher, and it's all working on them in different ways. It's working on, like I said, it's working on Miss Barrett in the sense that it's controlling her, like working on her sexual desire, her unfulfilled sexual desires. It's working on Miss Tanner in the sense that she's communicating with a spirit. She's not really even sure if it's the same one that she's communicating or that she believes to be communicating with. There's Fisher. Fisher is kind of like the only one who, because he had been in the house before and he barely got out alive, he's trying to, really keep himself closed off so it won't attack him. And then you got Dr. Barrett, who, he's, all about trying to, he's all about dealing with everything in a scientific method. And when things don't go to plan, it's, he can't accept it and things like that. But honestly, though, this movie is awesome. If you love a great, great haunted house story, if you're really into ghost stories and you haven't seen this, I definitely urge you to check it out. Like I said, it's a slow build. It takes a little while to get going, but once it gets going, it's really good. You got, interesting characterization. This movie too is, there's not like a whole bunch of horses. When did this movie come out anyway? This was 1973. Sorry. This movie came out in 1973, so it's not really about, there's no CGI or any of that stuff. This movie is kind of, playing on your fears. Some of it is, kind of subliminal imagery, making you see certain things, kind of like making you see things that aren't really there, that sort of thing. But this movie's really, really good. And like I said, if you're into ghost stories, you're into haunted house movies and everything else, I highly can't recommend this movie enough. And it's one of the better stories. And so, yeah, this is saying I don't really want to go too much more about that, but I would definitely say, give this a chance, add it to your ghost story collection because, add it to your haunted house movie collection. This is definitely one of the keepers. Okay. So I think you'll agree. This is probably, well, worse than some, but better than some of these other, haunted house movies that come out nowadays. So definitely more interesting, really interesting characterization, things like that. So yeah, I would definitely say that, man. If you get a chance, you really, really need to watch it. And then the funny part is too, is I forgot to mention that too. The whole thing about this is they got to try. Like I said, my glove fell off. Sorry about that. But anyway, like I was trying to say, this movie takes place during the time of Christmas week. So that's part of the funny part of it too. Is like they're trying to. We got to try and make sure we get everything done so we can be home in time for Christmas. So anyway, so there you go, Christmas horror movie that I just thought, So anyway, so that's going to do it. So if anybody took the time to watch this video, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. There'll be weekly videos posted. And Anyway, I'm the Night Walker, and you know what? If you're going out tonight, you might want to be careful. You never know who you might run into. Maybe even me.